So this point of courage versus a convenient or an easy way of living. Now, if we look at it from the organizational perspective, can this sense of courage to be the odd person in the room, or odd person or odd organization in the whole ecosystem, to follow, what does it how can the organizations create structures and processes to make people courageous, or it comes from family, or where does it so is there any way that we can understand?
I'll take a shot at that. I don't know if there's a process to make you courageous, right? I think it's intrinsic, but it is also the culture of the organization you're in, right? And it comes from the previous conversation we were having around, do you trust people to listen to you, right? Now, saying something unpopular is one thing. Um, Consequences for saying something unpopular is a different thing, and that's what makes it hard. Like, I think if you look at organizations that are culturally open to ideas and listening to what people have to say, you'll find a lot of this debate happens, and it doesn't matter at what level it happens, and that's how courage builds. And so you can start, at least people feel that they can say it. And it's a very delicate thing. The moment you take one shot at that saying, I don't listen to you. And I think all of us as leaders somewhere find ourselves doing it. Right? I've done it. I've found myself shutting down an idea, and then at least someone will go back and say, hold the phone. Can you just listen? And I think just the ability to do that is courage to say, can you listen? Can you let things flow? And then we'll get to it. That's the first part of it. And so organizational culture definitely has a role to play, but it's also individual. There's nothing wrong in not having the courage to say the thing that you want to say. It's just a choice individuals and leaders make to say something versus not to say something. And I think how personally and organizationally we're rewarded is all a function of that. Like, you could be the most courageous person in the room and not succeed because the setup is not correct. Or you could be that one person who speaks up and everyone goes, that's what I'm looking for. And that's the thing about it. I don't think there's a process. I don't think there's, it's just the ability to create organizational culture. And in larger organizations, it takes a longer time. You have a command and control culture. You can hire the smartest people and they will only do what the boss wants you to do. And that's the hard part. It's the sum total of intelligence is down to the boss. You can hire from any institute in the world. It won't matter.
So I would say that there are processes but they have not been understood in the proper way. Like, for example, everyone's organization, there is something called code of conduct. When a new employee joins the organization, he or she is supposed to read that code of conduct. And when I ask any new employee, have you read the code of conduct? The obvious answer is that, but everything is obvious. What is written in that handbook? I mean, we know that we are not supposed to do those things. But I mean, it is one of the tools to reinforce all those points into the minds of those employees that look, these are important for us as organizations. But unfortunately, the code of conduct only becomes a book which, everybody is just supplied without giving the context of why we are asking you to give a lot of emphasis on it. So the processes like this exist, but somehow we have not used them in the proper way to create this culture in the organization.
I mean, the important thing is whether those written rules are followed day in, day out or not. That's when the, writing of those rules becomes redundant. So
I was just wanted to add to what he's saying, and then you can take it forward, is whether the person gets an opportunity to practice it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you are day in, day out using those principles to deal with your transactions, to live your professional life in the organization, then, I mean, that's where the operation of those code of conducts come into the picture. Writing it in a book, providing it in a policy document. I mean, it's of no use unless it is practiced. And it is from top down. in this particular approach, I would believe that it is a top-down approach. It is from the top. If the integrity, if the courage, those things are reflected from the top, then that culture gets inculcated to the bottom, and that's when that culture of integrity builds in the.
So I have an answer to that. So why it is only a handbook and it is not being practiced, even though there is a similar handbook on Posh where everybody is so vigilant. Employees, there are. I mean, most of them in all the organizations, there is absolutely no room for any deviations if there is anything reported. But does it happen when the other rules of code of conduct are violated? Do organization take the similar kind of actions?
You'll be surprised they do.
Yeah. So
I think like if we just take this, like let's park the organization for a second, right? How many people feel comfortable raising it? That's the challenge, right? It's not that there isn't a booklet. It's not that there isn't, and it's not like organizations don't urgently take action, right? But it goes back to this: the right thing and the obvious thing. The right thing is to say, I will raise this, and then the individual goes through 5 calculations in their mind: my career, my reputation, my peer group, my perception, right? So I think individually it's hard, and why culture is important is because that culture allows you to say it's okay. We're here. You're not doing this alone. And I think in organizations, the hardest thing for an individual is to stand up and say something like that, and especially in scenarios like this. That's a completely different context. This is something extreme. This is something that has direct personal impact. And so that's the booklets and the laws, and that's fine. Like, right. But can an individual actually do it? It's defined by how comfortable they're in the space, how much support they have, what is the ecosystem. And that's kind of what helps, at least extreme situations.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can build the culture. It has to come from the top. It's courage, makes you unpopular, whatever. So, okay, we use extreme examples. Let's use another one. Financial service, I guess you guys see that. Insider trading compliance. Every 6 months you need to sign. I'm sure you do that. Every end of every year, you need to do a declaration. How do you do it? You go and tell the compliance manager, look, I will do it first as a leader. Tell the world I've done it at the open house or town hall, whatever we're having around Feb, March. We have one in our office. Just say he's done it already, and tell people, look, if you don't do it, this is the consequence. There's a lot of temptation on making money, quick buck on the stock market. We have a lot of insider information.
We always say about values and culture, the most important is about the behavior. How you behave, that truly defines the culture.
Correct.
So absolutely. So values are always on paper, and how you behave on those values truly defines the culture, in my opinion. And that behavior is top down always. So if I behave in a certain way, there are a lot of inheritance that my team will have. They'll also start operating in that model because they see some goodness in that. There are some bad parts, maybe, which I might be behaving in. So they'll eliminate those parts. But if I have a more on the good side, then that automatically becomes a culture of my team, about the organization where I'm operating, on top of what values we have. So that actually creates a very real culture that we talk about. And I'll say one more thing on the courage. So courage is also something which people takes on a different way. Some people say that if I challenge the status quo, I'm somebody who can always do that. So it's not always cool to challenge the status quo, because that something is running for the sake of running, and there is a logic behind it. So we always appreciate people to challenge the status quo, but with a logical bend to it. That you should challenge, but with some logical bend around it. That why something is working in that way, because that's only drive a lot of innovative idea, that drives the courage, that I can say this because of XYZ reason, not just because I feel this is right and I have to challenge the status. So these are the few takes I'll say on what are the conversation, all the great conversation I heard from you guys.